they were driving.
We have one. Yeah.
That's right. That's what
Just jumped in the truck. Yes, guy.
Yeah, I just laughed like that
I
too.
mean,
Can't get it out.
it's intimidating. You know, oh, she's ready to go.
Yeah.
Now, mom out there, mom. Sometimes, the only way she gonna bite you if you got a biscuit in your pocket. Yeah. She might accidentally get some open up biscuit, but that's not really understand.
Here we are. Oh, yeah.
Close to grandbaby. Open up the door.
At this time, you want to make sure everybody can hear. At this time, I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, February 16th, 2021 regular meeting of the Hendry County School Board. If you are so inclined, please stand and join us in the invocation and recite the pledge. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Superintendent, at this time, do you have any recognitions?
We do have some recognitions. We do have some recognitions this evening. And please bear with me because of a couple of different reasons. We have several retirees from the LaBelle area that have kind of piled up on us just because of lack of meetings over here for the past 60 or so days. And so that, and on top of, there's a lot of folks wearing masks, and I know I can see at least Ms. Burke, and so I just want to go through to make sure of who we have and who we do not have. So before we get too far into that, I would like to say that from my perspective, and I think I speak on behalf of the board and all the administration in the room, when we try to build school systems and we try to move the education of our children forward and do the job of educating other folks, young ones, and sending them along the way, you can have the greatest books, the greatest online programs, the most shiniest of classrooms, but at the end of the day, if you don't have good people and good humans in those classrooms teaching and caring for those young ones every day, it doesn't matter what you have on the pretty exteriors. And I believe to the bottom of my heart that we have some of the best folks in Hendry County, as there are anywhere, that do the best job of educating and caring for these children, that we're second to none. And so when we have retirees, we're so proud that they spent a pinnacle of their career here. We're very honored and blessed to have them, that they chose us where to invest their time, and from the bottom of their hearts where they work with our children and help our children learn and become productive humans. So we want to make sure we took the opportunity to say thank you, we appreciate you, and God bless you. Please have a happy retirement and be safe and enjoy life, okay? So, but having said that, I'm going to go through the list, and I think, as far as I can tell, we only have one, but I don't want to miss anyone. Mr. Veal, I don't believe is present. Mr. Kelly is not present. Ms. Fouch, I do not believe I've seen Ms. Fouch come in. Faye Reed, I don't believe I've seen Faye. Robbie Smith, or B.B. Popehill, correct? Okay, so with that in mind, I believe the only one that we do have is Miss Julie Burke. Is that correct? Come on up, Ms. Burke. Was a resource counselor at LYDA.
Oh my God, yes.
For, is it 29 years?
It seemed like 55.
So we just wanted to, we got this beautiful plaque that says Resource Counselor, LaBelle Youth Development Academy, in appreciation for 29 years of faithful service to Hendry County, Hendry County School District System, school board members, superintendent, and staff. Thank you so much. There you go. Yeah, Ms. McCarty gets one.
Got it.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was nice.
Yes. Enjoy. We hope you have a wonderful retirement.
Thank you for your service, Mrs. Burke.
Wait, I'm not done.
I know you're not.
Oh,
Can
no,
I say
yeah.
thank you?
I want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. And we happen to have one more. And I'm going to catch a little grief over this one because I was sworn not to do this. I was threatened with an inch of my life.
Yes.
But we did it anyway. We determined that if you retire and you leave, you really don't have much say so we can do this. So the next person that we have started out his professional career in 1997 as a teacher. All the way to 2002, went to Country Oaks Elementary as an assistant principal. And from 2008 and 2009 was actually administrator of food services. And then in 2009 to 16 was Country Oaks Elementary principal. 2016 to 17 was director of professional development, professional evaluation and accountability. And from 2017 until current was the director of human services here for Hendry County Schools. That adds up to 24 years of service in multiple areas, everywhere from a teacher all the way to all the things that were mentioned. Mr. James Seeley has given of himself for 24 years plus now. We're very honored to have his presence here. We're very honored that his family was able to join us this evening. He has been a mentor, a friend, a confidant to me, as well as multiple people in this room. He is invaluable. He will be missed. He will absolutely, in the time that he had here, will be cherished. By no means is he done. Of course, we'll call him and bug the Jesus out of him on a regular basis. But we didn't want this opportunity to get away from us without us giving him a plaque, which he adamantly said he did not want, but again, we didn't. But we do want to take this opportunity to bring Mr. Seeley forward and also give him a retirement plaque as well. Mr. Seeley. Look at that.
Hey, hello.
Hi. Yeah.
Hard to recognize.
What? That was fast.
Y'all want to get that line with me?
Everybody smile.
Probably should for social media. That's the cutest thing. Awesome.
Thank you.
There you go, Mr. Seeley. In appreciation for 24 years of faithful service to Hendry County, Hendry County School District and School System, school board, superintendent, and staff. Greatly appreciate everything you've ever done.
Let me say a few.
Are you going to talk tonight?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
You know, say what you want, if anybody will, about Hendry County or Hendry County schools. But Hendry County has impacted my whole family. My kids graduated from Bell High. They both have college education. And they both have families. I have 3 granddaughters. And I'm very proud of them. They employed me. They've employed my wife. And I will say, Hendry County Schools has not only been good to me, and there's a difference here, it's been good for me. And I appreciate the board. I appreciate every board member that I've ever worked with. I appreciate every superintendent. Mr. Swindle, thank you. Thank you, board, for all you've done for the kids and for me and for my family. Thank you very much.
He dropped his pen right there.
Yes, sir, thank you. All right, yeah, this will be the time if you want to. Thank y'all for coming. Oh. Miss Angela, did you bring a purse in? Okay.
Did I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to have him thinking.
Hi, baby. Glad you got a donut. I mean, I feel great.
Yes, I do.
That was awesome.
And if I may have a point of privilege here to say, as board members, we don't get the opportunity and the privilege to work with folks in the school on a regular basis. And so our contacts typically are the directors. And I know that it has been my experience that Mr. Seeley has always been above and beyond, and he did not let any kind of culture influence his leadership, and he was a leader of courage and a leader of integrity, and that is incredibly important. And I just wanted you to know, Mr. Seeley, that I recognize that, and I wanted to recognize that publicly, that I appreciate the way that you have led in your kindness and transparency and courage. And so thank you very, very much. So now we are moving forward to presentation. Superintendent, you have a presentation for us
We
today.
do have a presentation this evening on behalf of the CRISP that the board has asked. The schools have signed up to do different presentations on school board meetings, and tonight we are honored to have with us Mr. John Klinger and some staff from LaBelle Middle School. They're going to come forward at this time and give us a presentation. Mr. Klinger?
Good afternoon, Mr. Swindle, Ms. Busen, members of the board, directors. Thank you for allowing us to come and present tonight. I am the new principal of LaBelle Middle School, and I'd like to share some things, some of the great things that are happening at LaBelle Middle School. We've got a slideshow presentation that we're going to run here behind you. So I'd just like to start off by saying one of the great things that's going on at LaBelle Middle School is we have a new team, and our team is now complete with the hiring of Ms. De La Salas. So she's with us tonight. She comes with returning back to Hendry County Schools. We also have with us some of our lead teachers. They couldn't all be with us tonight because we have the parent-teacher conferences going on at the school. But of course, we could not do everything that we do without all of the dedication of our teachers, our lead teachers, the hard work of our students, and the support of our community and families. And along with that, I'd just like to say that I would like to say what a great idea it was, Mr. Swindle board, to put in place a director of secondary schools. And Mr. Sanchez has just been a great support to us during that transitional time that we've just gone through. I would like to just mention at this time when we talk about our team, we lost a member of our team recently. And so Ms. Shawanda Scruggs, we want to just recognize her and all the contributions she made to our school. And it's kind of a testament to our school culture, how everyone came together and supported her and her family and celebrated her life over the last week and with her services over this weekend. So that's, we just wanted to recognize that as we're having this opportunity to speak with you tonight. We just wanted to speak briefly about our mission and vision. And so all these great accomplishments that we've had at LaBelle Middle School and we're going to highlight tonight, this is the foundation. We want to provide to our students not just we're going to provide them the skills and the knowledge that they're going to use in whatever endeavor that they're going to pursue in their future, whether it's college, whether it's a trade. We're here to support every student in giving them what they need to be successful. Part of that effort and part of what leads to all these great highlights that we're going to talk about is setting the right tone across the campus, communicating expectations to the staff, students, continuing to develop that school culture that's so important, and we want to focus on literacy and good instruction in classrooms. as we talk about great things, one of the things that we wanted to highlight is that we have been working diligently for many, many years trying to improve our school score and making incremental progress year after year. And finally, we were able to get over that threshold during the last round of school scores, and we have a score of a B. Now, we understand that there's been a lot of challenges over the last year and a half or so that we're going to have to address. But what this does for our school is it lets everybody know that it can be done. The students know that the students have the capacity to do it. The teacher efficacy is where it needs to be in order for us to achieve this score. And so we've been there, and we can do it again, and we can go even higher. So that's our goal. And I like to do analogies, and one of our analogies is the cake. So we have the cupcakes here tonight. So over the many years, we figured out the recipe. And it's kind of like a cake baking competition. We won the blue ribbon, so we know what the recipe is. But the challenge is that the ingredients change every year. So we've got to constantly work on that, refine it, so that we can get that blue ribbon during the next competition. And so we've kind of figured out these are some of the things that we really need to focus on to make sure that we meet our goals. And through supporting this recipe, we've got some, just a few highlights. Now, we know that across the school district, there are great things going on in classrooms every single day. And we agree that we need to do a better job of getting that message out. And we're so thankful for Ms. Walker, who maintains our school Facebook page. We've got the link there. We have kind of the same ideas we have here tonight, that we highlight a classroom every month. So we have these posts so that the community can see children learning in the classroom and hear a little bit about what they're learning. So we really take advantage of that Facebook page, and it's been a real great benefit for us to make sure that we get the word out and we improve communication with the community and our families. I've asked Mr. Marquez, after he's finished handing out the cupcakes, he's also led our Ag Day presentation, so he's going to say a few words about that.
All right, I'm going to be brief. Ag Day, Mr. Swindle's former career, agriculture teacher, was a big success. We had several businesses out there promoting careers. We had linemen out there. We had FFA members from the high school showing off some of their steers. We had a lot of local businesses showing the kids what opportunities they have here in LaBelle and in surrounding areas. It was a good way to network with our local businesses, big collaboration with LaBelle High School. Shout outs to Ms. Fisher out there. She's doing a great job at LaBelle High School. And this is our feeder program. We have 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade ag. Our 8th grade class is actually a 9th grade credit course, so they are already starting their high school career at LaBelle Middle School. These are some of the businesses that participated that day. It was a great day. I encourage you to show up next time we have it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Marquez. We also wanted to highlight Kristen Walker, one of our lead teachers, who is also heading up our Sunshine Committee. We want to set the example. We want to maintain a positive culture, and we want to recognize all the hard work of our teachers. So we have an ongoing program where we have events. Here just last week, we had a donuts and coffee event for Valentine's Day to kind of keep the teachers motivated and keeping their instruction at the highest levels that we can. We have a great art department, and we've had some of our board members that have come by and supported our art department. We give our students the opportunity to practice our creativity, to participate in cultural events, and then we also highlight their artwork in our front office. So if you come to visit, we have a rotation where we keep a constant rotation of a different project that the students have done. The last highlight we'd like to present is our literacy department. I mentioned earlier that one of our primary goals is to improve literacy. So here we have some pictures of our literacy week. We had a character day where staff and students dressed up as their favorite character. Also to support literacy, we're going to bring back AR to LaBelle Middle School because we think that that's going to help foster the love of reading amongst our students and will also support literacy. And I've also asked Ms. Casey to come with us. She's one of our 8th grade reading teachers, and she's going to talk about some of her efforts to promote literacy.
So hi, I'm Ms. Casey. I do 8th grade reading. And what you'll see here are some of the students that I call my iReady heroes. So as they complete lessons, and they have completed about 2,260 something lessons so far, then 1,700 something. So I'm data driven. I use like data. I'm like, love data. So that's all the little posts that you see. I have an iReady store, so we celebrate those individual successes. We entered a national poetry contest, and 11 of our students practicing what they learned about reading poetry were actually accepted for publication, and they're getting gift anthologies from the company. So those are some of the students, and then in our library and in the front office, we also have displays of the poems from some of our students. And then, of course, all those little Post-it notes are the work of our students. And those are three different students who won. And I brought all of this really cool stuff, but they just want chocolate, big, huge chocolate bars, so I could have just brought food, apparently. And then is there another slide? Nope, that one's it. So yeah, if anybody wants to ever come by, we do things like Socratic debates, so we'll read, and then we'll debate like, the standards, but it's in a really fun and kind of engaging way, so that's what we do.
Awesome. So I just wanted to say thank you again for allowing us to give just a very brief presentation, just a couple of the great things that are going on, and I just want to leave you with our mindset at LaBelle Middle School is that we want to serve every student, and we want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to ensure that every student, no matter what their level is, that they're making progress toward their educational goals. That's all.
Does anyone from the board have any questions for Mr. Klinger or staff?
I just say thank you. I'm one of the ones that comes out and visits, and I absolutely love Mr. Nicholson's art class. It is so much fun in there.
Well,
And now I want to come and see you.
Absolutely, come by and visit. Yeah, I actually did some stuff with Mr. Nicholson. Our classes are kind of collaborating. Yeah, I do it with the science and
Okay.
yeah, it makes reading kind of come alive, right? It should be just in a book.
That'd be awesome. Okay, thank you.
And then, Madam Chair, can I get a picture of all of them up there?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the
Okay,
stands, the better
if y'all will
stand.
move around, so I can.
We might get stand.
You want the chocolate?
Take a knee up front, take a knee, I'm just kidding.
Goodness.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, Mr. Klinger and team. Done a great job. Really appreciate you. Great presentation.
And if you will keep us abreast, if you have something in particular that you want board members to come to, let us know, because we're on different pages and just reaching out to us. And I will tell you, I won't put you on the spot tonight, but what I will be interested in, since I feel like I got an invite, so I'm coming, is talking about literacy is very important, but what we're doing in helping the kids who are falling below the proficient level and what we're doing to move that needle for them. So, but thank you for your presentation tonight.
Awesome. And if y'all are welcome to stay for the meeting, but if y'all would like to leave, this would be the right time if you want. Stay if you would like. Yeah. Feel free to stay if you like.
I hope you guys enjoy the cupcakes provided by AJS.
Awesome. Thank you.
You guys did all right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right.
Okay, moving forward, do citizen comment on agenda items. Do we have any citizens here to comment on agenda items? Do we have any, no, okay, so we have none, seeing none, we will move forward to the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that a board member would like to have pulled and moved to an action item for discussion? In here, okay, I have two. I want to move, well, actually, I'm gonna have three issues. One's an issue, two are just for discussion. Item E, under consent agenda, I would like to move that to item E under action items, and then item I under action items, move that to, actually I, exceed D. And then I want to pull bills. Consent agenda, item H. Yeah, move that to G.
Bills is cheap, is that what you meant?
Bills here is H,
Oh, okay.
and move it to G on action items. Okay. With the removal of those to action items, superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
I recommend approving the balance of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, you guys are on it tonight. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes unanimously. Moving forward to action items, new personnel allocation request. Superintendent, may I have a recommendation?
I recommend to approve the new personnel allocation request.
Have a recommendation of a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I didn't see and now I may have missed it, but I didn't see like all the breakdown responsibilities and the whole deal for the workforce development person. Can we just kind of get a brief rundown on that? The whole purpose behind, I know, I see the purpose right here, is, position
Yeah, I can help you.
needed desperately. Can we get a little bit more?
Sure, I'll be happy to help you. Mr. Lucanhouse, would you like me to help him with that? Sure. Okay, this is actually Mr. Lucanhouse's current field, so I don't want to step on his toes, but we had discussed it earlier. Approximately 10 years ago, the program was so large that they had administrative assistants on both sides of the district because of the enormity of everything from reporting data, accounts, grants, and things like that. The trend over the past, about a 5 or 6 year period after that, it sharply declined and went down to only having one administrative assistant. Well, we had some explosive growth over the last 5 years there, and the programmatic pieces of that grew back to such a position where one administrative assistant cannot simply keep up with the financial aspects of purchase orders, bills, receipts, and all the accounting that has to be done, as well as the student portal piece where you have to keep up with creating classes, scheduling students, keeping track of hours, keeping everything straight, reporting everything to DOE in a good, clean manner. And so it was just simply outgrew the ability of one person to do it. And so we're kind of really basically going back to a two-person department because of the growth back to where it was. It's just very important that you do that, do it accurately and cleanly so that you maintain good income from DOE and good active records.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah, I was just kind of curious because, our vocation is growing exponentially, and I think that is a fantastic, thing. And I just wanted a little extra clarification.
Sure.
So that everybody could hear and see what it is. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Mr. Vestmeyer. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Action item A, new personnel allocation request is approved unanimously. Action item B, 2020-21 class size reduction compliance plan. Superintendent, may I have your recommendation?
I recommend approval of the 2021 class size reduction compliance plan.
Do you have a motion?
So, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Action item B, 2021 class size reduction compliance plan passes unanimously. Action item C, J. Ammon Architect for LaBelle Elementary School, proposal to provide a campus-wide Castaldi analysis. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
This time I recommend approval of item C, J. Ammon Architects, Inc., LaBelle Elementary School, proposal to provide a campus-wide Castaldi analysis.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Swindle had the opportunity to explain that to me, but I'm sure there's other people out there that don't know what that is, and maybe he can just spend a minute and explain what.
Okay, can we get the motion in a second, and then we'll
sure.
do it in discussion. We'll definitely put him on the spot for the explanation. Okay, we have a recommendation and a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, now,
Okay, now we'll give you.
now, I would, if Mr. Swindle would be so kind as to explain that a little bit, because I think
Absolutely.
it's interesting.
So, when we look at our schools, and we look at the age of our schools, and we look at the maintenance of our schools, we know good and well that LaBelle Elementary was put into service in 1967. There is some very old structures there. Parts, depending on what pod you're in, the plumbing is no longer functional. And so we know that the facility is aging. When we get involved with the state rotating fund for the construction of schools, they don't, and I absolutely agree with them, they don't want to take my word for it or your word for it or Mr. Houston's word for that, but we really need a new school. And so the purpose of the Castaldi report is to have an architectural engineering come in and do an exact analysis of everything from the age, the condition, the repairability, the cost of operation going forward, and then they compare that to what would it cost to replace that school. And so it's basically a scientific way of looking at, is it more economically feasible to build a new school or to continue repairing and moving forward with the school that you have? Takes the guesswork out of it, takes you and I out of the hot seat, and we know that we're following the Department of Education and a footprint of an architectural engineer of what their recommendations are. So that's the purpose of that.
And that's like the first required step in the process and procedure
That's right.
to participate in this special facilities construction
That's right, exactly.
allocations.
This,
Okay.
without this, the Department of Education won't even talk to us, so we have to have this check, we gotta check this box off before we can go any further.
I appreciate you explaining that.
Sure.
I think everybody benefits from knowing.
You bet.
Certainly, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Action item C for J. Hammond Architect for LaBelle Elementary School passes unanimously. Action item D, which is another contract with J. Hammond Architect, Inc. for LaBelle High School, a proposal to provide programming for a building addition. Superintendent, may I have your recommendation?
Recommendation is to approve item D, JM and Architect Inc., LaBelle High School, proposal to provide programming for a building addition. So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any discussion?
Would you like me to run through that one? Well, because there's a little bit of a nuance on that one.
Well, if you don't mind,
Contrast and compare it to the
Right,
Castaldi.
sure. So the Castaldi is required by the Department of Education to be active in their facilities, special facilities use fund. We do not, LaBelle High School will not qualify for a special facilities use fund because it's only to construct a new school. This is an addition. But again, before we go after any funding or any funding mechanisms to make this happen, you and I need to make sure that we have, again, an architectural engineer saying that at this point in time, this makes the most economic sense of our taxpayers' dollars that we've signed up to make sure that we're very prudential with. So what this does, it gives you and I and architectural engineers, again, they're going to go through and they're going to look at where they are, how many portables they have, how many classes they have, what the growth of that school is, what the footprint is, and then they're going to make a recommendation to us. It very well could be, you're fine where you are, keep adding portables, repairing portables, and keep going. It could also be, you've outgrown this facility, you need to add a wing, or you need to add 20 classrooms and brick and mortar, or whatever it may be. So again, this gives us a professional's opinion on where we need to go with the future of that school site.
thank you.
Okay.
And would that be, I guess, to echo what I said about the Castaldi, like the first step in determining, I guess, what you need, and because the custody is attached to a funding mechanism.
Right.
And to determine how a county would fund that kind of construction.
That's exactly right. And from that point, then there are multiple avenues actually of funding in addition that a school district can use. And so we are vetting all the different avenues. And then once we see what's needed and the amount, then we will come back to you with a proposal.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Action item D for J. Ammon for Lavelle High School passes unanimously. So we are going to do action item E, which is the revised organizational chart. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
I recommend to approve the revised organizational chart.
So moved.
Second.
Perfect. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I know you pulled it, but I had the same item I was looking at. I don't believe that the superintendent's spot should be underneath of the board. I think he should be equal to the board in that organization of that chart. Just because you don't work for us, you were elected just like we were. I think we all are on the same playing field there. I don't know how anybody else feels about that. That's just my personal input on that organization chart.
Legally speaking, I don't know if I'm going to be an internet lawyer here, is, got all my education off of Google. And that would, in my opinion, that would be the legislative body. I mean, it's the administrator and the legislative body. The administrator acts within, because it's not any of us individually as a school board, it is the collective body, but we are the legislative body, and the superintendent acts in the parameters of what we've laid out. So it would be different if it was, like John Bass went over Mike Swindle, but it's the legislative body over the chief administrator. And that's just where I've seen it before.
I believe it's that way, but and please correct me if I'm wrong, but basically y'all are the policy and financial governing body, and I act accordingly underneath those policies and financial procedures that you set forward. I believe is my understanding of
Ms.
it.
Shaddock, is that your impression?
If that's,
Thank you, Superintendent, board members. Yes, my understanding would be the same, that the board is responsible for the policymaking function for the school district as well as for the financial budgeting function. And then the superintendent is employed to work within those parameters set by the board. And he brings things to you, but you're the one who votes on them and makes them happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
It is.
Yeah.
So I have more of a comment. I see in the restructuring, the proposed restructuring of the organizational chart, we have moved it would propose to move the Human Resource Department under our current deputy superintendent and put a focus on our on school safety and how important that is, and in creating actually just reallocating a directorship for school safety. I wanted to know about the benefits of that particular restructuring there. Like, what would that free up, and basically, what's the benefit of making that change other
Sure.
than having that
Okay.
extra security?
Great question, and I'll do my best to clarify that for everyone. So, Valentine's Day 3 years ago, we had the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas horrific, scene that played out just about 95 miles southeast of us. And as a result of that, an enormous amounts of legislation has come forward to all school districts. The upkeep of what it takes to comply, the training, the constant interaction with the Department of Education and the professionals to make that happen is just becoming an overwhelming task. Dr. Egley has, up until this point, that we had to name someone who would be in charge of that, and so up until this point, he was the lucky one who's been manning that and doing a great job, mind you. However, at this point in time, Dr. Egley, who is a deputy superintendent of schools, spends about 75% of his time on school safety issues and compliance. That's an enormous load. And everything sort of happened at the perfect storm timing. With Mr. Seeley retiring, and Dr. Egley and Mr. Seeley work hand in glove with personnel and HR issues. Dr. Egley is very well versed in school operations and HR and handling situations. So the crux of what we're trying to accomplish is to allow Dr. Egley to free up his plate, take the enormous burden and load, I shouldn't say burden, take the enormous workload of school safety and place it in the hands of someone who can focus their time on school safety. And at the end of the day, when the parents entrust this group with their children, they want to know they're getting a great, high-quality education, and they want to know they're being safe. That's just second to none. Those things have to happen. And so, as a small rural district, taking such a bold step to show that we're invested in that, and that we're going to do our part to make sure that those babies are safe every single day from while they're in our care and while we're educating them. That's kind of the whole idea behind this. And then what will happen, that will allow free Dr. Egley's time, 75% of his time, to focus back on the operations of the school district. And Mr. Seeley has done a great job of building a staff that does the day-to-day task of running the HR department. Dr. Egley can easily oversee that staff and then easily handle the role and the decision-making pieces of what HR does for us on a daily basis. So that really is the main change that you see there. The old to the new was basically we took all the HR staff, put it under Dr. Egley, and we added the school safety director to the line on the chart. Does that help?
And I'm correct that we reallocated positions to do this and not added to them?
We did it without asking you for a dime. So again, with Mr. Seeley retiring, we were able to, by shifting that responsibility to Dr. Egley, we were able to free up his slot then to hire this person. So it won't cost us another dime in personnel to make it happen.
Okay, that satisfies what I was looking for out of this one. Do you guys have any further discussion on that?
No, thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The action item E, revised organizational chart, passes unanimously. Action item F is budget amendments, which was on the consent agenda under I. Superintendent, do I have your recommendation?
I recommend you approve the budget amendments for FY 20-21.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? A
Second.
second? Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, so I wanted to have the public discussion on this one. I don't have any complaints or pushback on it. But, you know, Mr. Sammerdyke and I just came back from the finance forum, and St. Johns County was presenting and was talking about, for purposes of financial oversight, for the superintendent to be able to keep an eye on it, and for us to be able to provide also that oversight, that their recommendation is to receive budget amendments monthly. Because if you see something on a monthly basis, and like I spoke to Ms. Riccardi, she says sometimes we don't have budget amendments in a month. But at least, you know, they can report, we don't have budget amendments, but if you do have amendments in that month, it lets you see how it's unfolding in a shorter time frame than letting it stretch out for 6 months and be like, oh, well, how did we get here? You can, it gives him a better ability to monitor that, and then it gives us more transparency and oversight, so we don't get caught 6 months or a year into something and not have our amendments in front of us. Kind of helps us keep up. So I didn't, I would like to see consensus tonight, if that would be favorable with the board to move towards that model, because I know we've done it every 6 months or, you know, biannually. But I think, you know, it would just, I don't know if it would be, you know, a traditional burden on staff to do that, but I think it's important for oversight, particularly where we're going to be running into some very lean financial years.
That was gonna be my question, is how much of a burden is it gonna be on staff to do that?
Ms. Riccardi, we asked her as the CFO, what her impression is on that.
Thank you. It's interesting you would bring this up because I, in fact, when I came here, thought that we needed to do them more often. So I'm not going to disagree. I'm actually not going to disagree either. There are two types of budget amendments. One is simply transferring between line items. Those would be considered budget transfers. For example, if I budgeted $1,000 in supplies and I needed to buy a capital item, maybe I needed to buy a PC, I would transfer the money, decrease $1,000 in expense, and increase it in the capital line item. Generally speaking, those are minimal, or those aren't minimal, those are minimal dollar amounts, but they happen daily, especially as the year goes on. The other type are real budget amendments. Real budget amendments are either when you get a grant or when something significantly changes in the budget that you have to increase your budget expenditures. For example, when we did the salary increases, that's something that's going to increase your budget. The board needs to definitely keep a good eye on the budget amendments, which was the latter of the two. The transfers, I don't think anybody is concerned about, which is why most of our work that we do wouldn't involve the board, except that we have to make sure that that's right. We want to make sure it's right. To that end, first of all, there's two different kinds. I would always make sure that we would be doing the amendments, if you wanted the amendments on a monthly basis, which could be many months, a zero impact. And the transfers affect us only because at year end, we don't want our account groups to be over or under. So again, capital is different than supplies. So at the end, we want those to not be over. I'm not sure if it's worth the I can't even say the word. I'm not sure it's worth differentiating between the two. So if we want to try it every month and see if that's too much, we could do that. I really don't think it's going to end up being too much. I think that the hardest part's just going to be us tracking it and remembering to do it.
Okay. Well, if it does become too much, we can always back up to every quarter.
Right. Quarterly was where my first head was, to be honest. But we run into problems with quarterlies because, as you know, just like even monthly financial reports, there are months, I think I didn't get to December until the middle of February. That was tonight. We didn't get to December until the end of February just because of the way the meetings flow. Right. So some of it is a timing issue.
St. John said they were usually like a month behind. But it provides, I know that when we, look at our budgets, we're like, why did this go up here and why did this? And so I think that'll help you see that in real time instead of when it gets presented like all at once or a massive amendments twice a year. And it just helps that tracking and the oversight for us.
Yeah, as long as it's not going to be overburdened for our staff, I think that's worth looking at for sure.
All right, we can try it. I mean, is everybody in favor on trying that going forward?
Yes.
Okay.
Superintendent, are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
All right, fantastic. So that was really the crux of what I had to say on budget amendments. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And budget, or action item F, budget amendments passes unanimously. Action item G is bills. And so I learned something today, and this is not even legal advice from Google, this is legal advice from Molly. And that was reimbursements. If we have a family member who is getting a travel reimbursement, are you listening to me, Reverend Brown? We have if we have family members, I know we have some of us have family members in there. In the district, if they're getting any kind of reimbursable travel reimbursement or any kind of reimbursement, we have to abstain from that vote. And as well as if we have a travel, because it's all in mass. And so even if we have like a reimbursement, that we have to abstain from voting on our own reimbursement too.
So then I have a question.
Okay.
Say, when this COVID thing finally goes away and we go back to the FSBA conference, who's going to approve our travel? If we all go.
So this is going to be super cumbersome, and then we're going to say, are we going to, everybody but Mr. Baswin? And then everybody votes on Mr. Baswin's, and then we'll say, okay, everybody but Mr. Sammerdikes, and everybody but Mr.
Attorney has
Sammerdikes.
Yeah, excuse me. There is a point of clarification I want to make. So the chair of Fusen asked me whether or not she needed to abstain from voting if a relative had a travel reimbursement. And I said yes, in accordance with the the conflict of voting statute, section 112.3134. And then she asked me, well, what if board members do? And I said yes. And then I thought about it more, did a little more legal research, and I emailed you, but I guess you didn't see it yet. So there's actually a statute, section 112.313, subsection 5, that clarifies that no public officer, so no board member, shall be prohibited from voting on a matter affecting his or her salary, expenses, or other compensation as a public officer. So that would not be true for voting on your own travel reimbursement. It would only be true for if it was a relative's.
Okay.
Because that's something that could inure to your benefit, so you'd be conflicted from voting on it, and it wouldn't fall under this subsection that basically gives you an exemption. So is that clear?
Yes, okay, so
Sorry
now we don't
about
have to
that.
vote on ours, but that's, she did tell me that I have the email, I got the receipt.
Yes. That is true.
And, but it would for, if for instance, your daughter had something that they went to and had to be reimbursed, we'd have to abstain from that. So that, I'm just prefacing this, she went up this, I'm gonna ask the or if we can pull, Anthony Buson's travel reimbursement from the bills. And can I get a recommendation for the remainder of the bills?
I recommend the approval of the balance of the bills, except for Anthony Buson's.
Okay, I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the balance of the bills minus Anthony Buson passes unanimously. And then we, at this point, have the travel reimbursement as listed in the packet for Anthony Buson, superintendent. And at this point, that is a relative, and so I'll be abstaining from this vote. But superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
I recommend approving travel reimbursement for Anthony Buson.
Thank you. Do I have a recommendation? Do I have a second?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Action item G passes 4-0 with Buson abstaining. Thank you. Board member, as we move forward to board member business, Reverend Brown, do you have anything for us tonight?
Just one, is there any way possible we could like put a little flag like on one of our relatives, involved with where we have enough things that we may not see? My daughter might go and do something, I don't know what she does.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I'm kind of flag with somebody, okay, you gotta remember this.
I love the bills, so I would be
Yeah.
willing, I mean, that's my favorite, it is, it's like People Magazine to
So
me.
you gonna do it for me?
And so I would, if I saw somebody that I knew to be a relative in there, then I would give Beverly a heads up
Yeah,
to
okay.
reach out to you on that one.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm not having anything else.
All right, cool. All right, Mr. Baslin.
I know we lost one of our students this past weekend. I'm just kind of curious on how the community at the school has received, if we had counselors. I know we've had counselors at the school. Can you enlighten me on what?
Yes. I'll defer to Mr. Sanchez. I believe he was there today.
Yeah, so some of the students took it very difficult. Some of the teachers had a really hard time with it, but I want to appreciate Dr. Staley and her team. She sent her team of counselors and psychologists to the school there to be with the students and offer that additional counseling and support for students. There's also a GoFundMe account because the family is in need of funds for the funeral expenses. And I looked at it earlier today around 3 o'clock. I think it was up to $5,000 of a $10,000 need. So we could definitely get that link to you guys if you would like to contribute as well.
The counselors will also be there tomorrow. They're following his block schedule for the next couple of days.
Okay.
So that they'll get the students.
Awesome.
Very good. All right, thank you. I just wanted an update on that.
All right, Mr. Sammernick.
All right. I have 3 items I'll just bring forward a little bit. Today I was at LaBelle High School and I did talk to the counselors and they seemed to be very supportive of the students. The team was there this morning. They were sharing all that information, so that went well. I also got the opportunity to meet with some students in the Tricrest monitoring group that's headed by Kim Stick. And these were 5 students that were, you might say they were at risk. and she's been meeting with them. They're supportive of each other, and today I got to sit and talk to them for a while, and they were the most positive students about being in school and supporting each other. And the term triquestra means past, present, and future. And that's just what, here's where I'm at and where am I going. And those students are so good that in May, they're gonna be here to speak to the board, and I'm very excited that they're gonna be here. I just wanted to share that with you. All right, I wanna move on. I wanna thank Mr. Luchtenhaus. Last week, he took me to LaBelle High School so I could look at some of their technology programs. And I have to tell you, this cyber stuff is overwhelming, and it's moving so fast that the high school teachers in the ITT programs are very perceptive to change. They know it's coming, they're training for it. The stuff that we saw was Adobe certifications, things like that. The Microsoft, they're giving new certificates, Microsoft Technology Associates. All this is in flux. And it's so good that these students are ahead of this. So when they walk out into the real world, they're gonna have those certificates. They're gonna be ready for jobs. They can get hired right away with the skills they have. I also got to visit the ag program, and I saw the new equipment. In fact, a couple of my students that I met with today were in the ag program, and they spoke so positively about that. It is so great. It's so good to hear good things. Moving on to my third item. You know, last week, I went with Ms. Buston and we went to the school finance forum. And I have to tell you what, that was an overwhelming learning experience. And people talk about a learning curve, that was straight up. We talked about, I'm just gonna give you a little list, I'm not gonna mention them all, budget amendments, restricted fund balances, categoricals, grants, unweighted FTEs, weighted FTEs, base student allocations, district cost differentials, base funding, decline in enrollment, sparsity subsidies, state-funded discretionary allotments, millage comprehension, safe school funding, ESE allocations, supplemental academic instruction, reading allocations, instructional transportation, and it goes on. That's less than half of the list that our CFOs go through and try to get together for us. I was just amazed at the information and the way it has to be organized and presented and spent according to the state. It's no longer a box of money that they send down and we can do what we want. It is so categorized, it's unbelievable. And I just had to share that. Now there is another meeting, training for school finance on April 8th and 9th. And I just want to mention all the board members. And we had administrators and we had at least one superintendent there because the person that presents this is the CFO in St. Lucie County. So it's not just for teachers or it's not just, it's for everybody because it's quite a learning experience and I just wanted to share that. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Nelson.
We told you, didn't we?
You did. Watch out, man.
Wow. No, it really is a good forum, and I think I want to do the one in April. I just want to give a shout out to Cloiston Middle School. Went over there today for their Black History Month celebration and luncheon, and oh my gosh, they had artifacts from the museums, they had a slideshow, they had a little second grader that sang a song, they had kids give speeches, and they had food. So much food. Were you there, Roberto?
No,
okay, you're shaking your head like you know. Oh, it's like this whole day is just of double trays of just food. I might sneak back over for lunch tomorrow. So jump in with me. It was so good, but thank you to them for the invite. And I like the idea of doing that right before parent-teacher conferences. I think that was a really nice little treat for the staff and faculty. So anyhow, kudos CMS. That's all.
Thank you. I'm sorry I missed that today. It was
I ate for you, don't worry.
Thank you. Girl. You could have brought me a leftover.
I could have, but
the days of board meetings, I'm always on the move. So to what Board Member Sandberg said about the Triquestra program, the Public School Foundation is excited to be a financial donor on that one to help them get their program off the ground. And so there's a lot of value in what's going on in that program, so that was, that's awesome that, you know, we can tie into things and support programming like that. This one thing I want to talk about tonight is organizationally and it's not even really for a response tonight. It was hopefully to get all of our wheels turning in our head, and that is measuring the effectiveness of the programs that we're using. And one of the things we talked about this week at the forum was performance-based contracts. We know that we have them for people, but do, and particularly in a district like ours, with limited finances. And when we invest in a program, I would almost like to see like a caveat, like they come and they say, okay, here's the abuse and literacy program, and this program's gonna do all of this for you, and blah, 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 and you make this huge investment, and if it doesn't work, then not only are we out that money, like we can't recoup that money, but we've also wasted these kids' times, and this time is precious, and it's hard to get back, and it's hard to remediate. And so looking forward, you know, as we're looking at, you know, curriculum shifts and program shifting and what's good and evaluating that, is figuring out what is working, and have like a rubric and a metric for that to determine that, so we don't get stuck in a program for too long. If, you know, if it's not producing, it's hard to build on it. And then consider trying to see, you know, when people come to us and they want us to do these things, and say, let's make it a performance-based contract. We'll give you so much of the contract, but if it doesn't produce the results that you've claimed, then you're out your money, and it's not our money, and it just gives us a mechanism to pivot away from if it's not effective. And so I don't even know if that is even possible, but something to definitely think about when we're entering in contracts and spending money, and you just want them to be, you know, the money's a secondary issue. It's wasting the kids' time because we want it to be effective. And so those were just my 2 cents.
Good one.
Good sense.
All right, Superintendent, do you have anything?
Just real quickly, along the list of the retirees that didn't want the night to get away without recognizing Ms. Riccardi, although she's been with us 18, 19 months or something like that. I believe most of you know that she is answering the call to go back home and attend some family matters and stuff like that. I've only been in the seat for roughly 60 days, but she's been absolutely helpful, worked very, very hard, and done a great job, and been very responsive to everything I've asked. She's going to be missed, but we want to wish her nothing but the best as she goes. So thank you, Mr. Carter.
And so I don't know if you read your contract, the fine print of that is you can't leave until you find your replacement. So get to work on that. But thank you for your service, and all you've had to do. You didn't come in under optimal conditions, and I know you've had challenges along the way, but thank you for hanging in there and stepping up to that plate, and so that's much appreciated. Is there any further business of the board? Okay, well, that meeting is adjourned.